What is going on, guys, and welcome to ForTheFans with me, Jack, and my co-host Ben. Coming up in today's show, we're going to be reminiscing over what was a memorable night for Holland as they stomped to victory over Spain 5-1, looking at the other fixtures from yesterday. Referees were in the spotlight yet again, not for the first time this World Cup, and then we're going to follow things up by looking at today's fixtures and looking more specifically at what to expect from England come kick-off in tonight's late game.
Okay, day 3, we're back. World Cup roundup. Me, Jack. Jack, how you doing?
I'm decent, thanks, Ben.
We're not alone, Jack.
We are not. First time for everything.
We've got ourselves a guest. It's only FIFA YouTuber Nepenthez. How you doing?
I'm alright, Jack.
Thanks, Nep.
Yeah.
Unbelievable start. For those who don't know what you do, Nep, tell the viewers, tell the listeners.
I make FIFA videos and put them on YouTube. I've got almost 600,000 subscribers and over 100 million YouTube views.
Wow.
So basically, he's a big deal.
He's nearly as big as the ForTheFans podcast.
Almost.
Nearly as big. This is a special podcast, so I hold it true in my heart.
Well, you know, it's been said. Shall we kick ourselves off with Spain-Holland? It was quite the affair.
I like what you did there with kick ourselves off.
That was
like the football reference. It's brilliant.
Oh, you know, we're pros over here. Neb, do you want to start us off? What did you make of the game?
It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Did you
elaborate on that?
Well, no, sorry.
Were you
surprised with how Holland shut down the Spanish?
They didn't really shut them down, to be fair. Holland had something like 38% possession. Spain still controlled the game. They were just unreal on the counter-attack.
Who stood out for you in terms of the Holland team?
Well, obviously Robben and Van Persie, but Blind, he had a cracking game.
Yeah, the left wing back.
Yeah, he had an absolute stunning game.
Yeah, me and Jack spoke before we spoke on yesterday's show. We were talking about how if Holland can utilise their wing backs, then Spain may find it tricky to break them down. It wasn't just that they defended well, as you mentioned earlier. They counter-attacked with a verve. Jack, what did you make of it?
It was a pretty impressive performance by Holland. Going into the game, there were some questions about the defence. Would the back five be good? In the end, they kind of almost lined up with a back three we touched upon yesterday, and as you mentioned, would the wing-backs have a big kind of bearing on the game? And we kind of expected them to maybe push up a little bit more against the likes of Australia. And although Holland did kind of sit back and they were really kind of playing for the counter-attack, they weren't desperate to have the ball, but when they had it, they kept it well. The wing-backs definitely had a bearing on the game, and the pace that they had on the break, particularly with Robben, his ability to carry the ball, half the length of the pitch, was crucial, and ultimately it kind of unlocked the Spanish defence on multiple occasions.
Yeah, Van Gaal got it spot on, I think it's fair to say. What did you think tactically? Do you think Del Bosque got it wrong, Nap?
No, not at all. I just think Spain had a bad day. They didn't play very well at all. And going back to Robben, the way he just destroyed Ramos for pace for his last goal was outrageous. I know Robben's fast, but Ramos is no slouch and he's got strength. I honestly think Spain just had a bad day. They did, the shots, 7 shots to 11 in favour of, Spain had 7, Netherlands had 11, and it finishes 5-1. It's, on another day it could have been 2-1, 2-2. It was close. It was closer than the scoreline would suggest. That's for sure. Yeah.
So we kicked off with we mentioned Blind on the left hand side, whips a ball in, and Van Persie with an audacious header. I'm sure as an Arsenal fan, Nep, you enjoy seeing him score all the time.
I mean, the first thing that comes to note is that he took a dive thinking he was getting fouled, even though there was no one near him, and managed to knock onto the ball, and in it went. So
I thought he tripped over, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, that's to me, it looked like he hit a dirt mound and fell. So, but no, it was a wonder goal, wasn't it? It was special.
It reminded me of the Henrik Larsson header, not quite as impactful, but a little bit more elegant. I don't know if you remember the Sweden
I'll tell you
goal.
what I loved about this Van Persie header, though, is the way he actually even looked to see where Casillas was, to know that he could head that. That wasn't an accidental lob header. He knew full well what he was doing, which is remarkable. The ball as well was epic.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the actual pass to him, to pick him out there, because he was running at pace at the edge of the area, obviously, just to get that ball to land on that spot, you couldn't have put it in a better spot for him. Obviously, that goal did come after Holland had already conceded from the penalty, which Costa won, and I think it was Alonso who buried it. And then Silva had a chance moments before they kind of got hit on the break and the Van Persie goal came in. I was a bit confused by that David Silva finish. I get he was trying to chip the player, but it kind of capped off and kind of summarised Spain's game before it even had kind of gone down the drain in many ways. They looked a little bit complacent, Spain, to me, and it kind of showed, particularly in the second half, when Robben got the second... I think it was Robben who got the second goal. When he got that goal, it kind of... The game was still evenly matched, and then obviously that third goal flew in, and there was a bit of a question about whether or not it was or wasn't a foul.
Yeah. Talking about the third goal, was it a foul on Casillas, or was he just trying to make up for the fact he fucked up?
No chance.
See, the thing is, if you're going to say that's no chance, which I don't think it was a foul, I think you've got to look at the game the day before yesterday and the Croatia game and look at the foul on Julio Cesar, because I don't think there was much different between them. And whilst I don't think it was a mistake tonight, I just think there's a little bit of a lack of consistency, but you're never going to get that. It's kind of a recurring theme so far this World Cup, seemingly just decisions not going the right way.
Yeah, it was another night, wasn't it, for referees not really knowing what they were doing. It didn't have an awful refereeing performance, but there were a few situations which you just felt like, let the game go.
Yeah, you know what makes me laugh as well? When there's like free kicks and they get this foam spray out, and they spray the foam, and then the players just step over the foam anyway, and they don't even push them back behind the foam. It's like, what's the point of putting the line there if you're not going to keep them to it?
I love it when they spray it over their boots. It's just like, well, they're the line now. They can go where they want.
I think if they step over the line, it should just be in the face.
It should just be a yellow card straight away. Walk over the line, yellow card, and then they'll stop walking over it.
Well, speaking of yellow cards, after that third goal went in, which was kind of, as you mentioned, it was a scrappy free kick that just came in at the back post. Casillas obviously got booked then, and it was kind of from then onwards, the kind of Spanish heads just dropped. And I don't know if it was a case of they were shell-shocked or just a case of complacency. I think it was more complacency maybe with Casillas in the fourth goal where he had that horrific first touch. But I kind of feel like as soon as that third goal went in, the Spanish players kind of maybe felt a little bit sorry for themselves or a little bit shocked at the fact that suddenly in a game that they'd seemingly looking like they were going to go in at the break 1-0 up and they'd gone in 1-1, and then to concede 2 goals in the manner they did, they just looked like their heads completely went.
We also got to see a little bit of Fernando Torres this evening.
He played well.
Do you know what? Someone tweeted saying, "Oh, that is the worst miss Torres has ever done." I'm thinking I can think of 3 more off the top of my head, which are worse than that. It wasn't a good night for Spain all around. What do they change now then? We look forward to their next game. Do they play with the false 9? Do they use Fabregas? Or I hate to bring up Fabregas, but you know.
No, it's fine. For me, they need time to work Diego Costa into the team. They're not used to playing with a striker, especially not a target man like him. So for me, they need to they should have started with a false 9, and if they're in control of the game, bring Diego Costa on, give him some time, because the game against Chile is no joke. Like, they have got to win that game or they're out. Yeah,
and we saw how devastating Holland were on the counter. Chile, based on tonight, they may do exactly the same thing. They play a very similar formation. It'll be very interesting to see if Spain try and adapt and keep the ball and try and stop Chile that way. I don't know. Spain's pass accuracy, although they had a lot of the ball, it wasn't great tonight. I don't think there was numerous times where they just lost their heads after going a couple of goals down. I
was going to say, just touching upon the thing with Diego Costa, obviously Spain not used to kind of having that out and out strike, and I think that kind of showed not just in terms of for Spain, but you look at how Atletico set up. They're a very counter attacking team. They rely on Diego Costa to really carry the ball, hold it up. Whereas with kind of Barcelona and with Spain and the midfielders they have, you've got players like Xavi who are used to giving the ball to the front man and then him giving it back, as opposed to Diego Costa, who's constantly receiving the ball, turning around and going, where's the goal? And I kind of feel as if that kind of... It's a case of Spain don't play very direct football, but the players that are playing, well, in Diego Costa, he wants to play direct football. He wants to run at the goal. And because Spain haven't had that system just doesn't quite work out, and they've kind of got to find a balance somewhere. I think it will be a case that they might even revert back to their previous system. Obviously, I believe Torres and Diego Costa are the only 2 strikers they have in their squad. There may be one more, but they're not exactly, full of strikers. It's not something they rely on playing, and they're going to miss out hugely if they don't include them because of the quality they've got in the midfield. And it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe start Fabregas for the next game and maybe play him in a similar position to where he's played before, which is kind of a centre position, not quite a striker. I want to say a false nine, but kind of starting a little bit deeper, and they might just try and play kind of the football that they're used to playing.
Well, I mean, most of these players come from Barcelona and Real Madrid, who are used to, well, especially the Barcelona midfield, like the kind of the pure football style. So I don't get, especially when they don't have out-and-out wingers on their team. Play Diego Costa up front by all means if you're going to have Jesus Navas on the field. Yeah. But when you've got players like David Silva and Xavi and Iniesta on the park who are looking to pass it and then be brought back into play, what's the point of having him there?
It's interesting. We previewed yesterday, and I said to Jack, you remember, I said, it's weird that Navas isn't there for me, because I've always felt like they were going to play Diego Costa, and if you're going to play him, Navas is the perfect player to have on the right-hand side. Yeah. By all means, play Iniesta on the other side, because he'll be Iniesta, and he'll do everything else. But have that sort of outball to Navas, and Costa will eat up deliveries from wide areas all day long. He did it all season.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think we should say the Dutch were fantastic at the back.
They were. Yeah, they look really solid. Obviously, going into it, 5 at the back was the system they played in qualifying. 5 at the back was kind of the way they set up. In the centre, I mean, we've touched upon the wing-backs, but just in the centre, they look so solid. Obviously, it was a 3v1 situation for most of the game in terms of the attacking threats that they had to shut down. But they did such a great job of it. They kept them quiet, and they allowed kind of Spain to have possession, but not necessarily in the dangerous areas that you'd expect Spain to have it. And they really frustrated them. And when they did have the possession, Holland were not afraid to maybe pass it around a little bit deeper, suck up the midfield, suck up the defence, kind of get Spain playing that higher line, then just give it to Robben and let him run. I think for me, Robben was I don't want to say he was a surprise, because he's obviously a very good player, and the same with Van Persie in many ways. But particularly Van Persie, he's not had the best season at club level, and there was all these questions of, these two guys are going to have to step up. Holland got to the World Cup final 4 years ago. These two guys were in form. These two guys were in form 4 years ago. They did a job for them then. If Holland want to be successful this World Cup, they've got to perform, and they couldn't have really asked for a better performance from either of those players.
What they've got as well, which I like, is they've got like a team that's not afraid to get stuck in. They've got some dirty players, and you do need that. Like Spain kind of lack that grit and determination. You get it with Ramos, but Iniesta and Xavi, they're not known for going in for their hard tackles. But you've got De Jong, and even from years gone by, players like Van Bommel, Holland have always had that kind of I'll break your legs if I need to get the ball kind of guy.
Yeah, they've always had a destroyer. Like they've always had someone that's just going to stop everything from happening. They're going to make the game look a bit crap. They're going to ruin the game by making sure that the other team can't do anything. And De Jong certainly did that tonight. Shall we move on to Mexico-Cameroon? It was the first game of the day. The ref was in the spotlight.
I think it was his linesman who was in the spotlight, really. How did this one finish? Was it 1-0 in the end?
Finished 1-0.
It should have been 3, but it was a bizarre game. I don't know where to begin with this one.
It shouldn't have been 3. But this is one thing that annoys me, not with you specifically, because this is the first time I've done it and probably the last, but with commentators and pundits and stuff. They're like, if those goals weren't given as offside, it would have been 3-0. It wouldn't have been, because after the first one would have gone in, you don't know how the game would have turned out from there, because everything's different. So it might still have finished 1-0 had the first goal been rightfully allowed.
Okay, so it shouldn't have been 3-0, but there should have been 3 goals by the letter of the law if the game had panned out down the same timeline.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think it was as if those goals had been given earlier, it would have been a landslide. Cameroon played 6 at the back. You can't even play 6 at the back in Football Manager. I'm sat here like, how are they doing this?
It was a pretty dull game as well, to be fair. Like Mexico tried, but the rain didn't help things either.
No, I was really disappointed by Cameroon. I thought they had far better players than what they displayed. Like you say, 6 at the back for a Cameroon side with. You've got players like Alex Song and Samuel Eto'o in that side. They shouldn't be doing it.
as well, the defender, and Sheju, like Nkulu too. Like they've got really strong players in their team.
Yeah, it irritates me that when you've got players like that, and the most winnable game they've got in their group was probably the game they played today.
Yeah,
and they just didn't seem interested, and I was disappointed. Like you said, the conditions didn't help, but yeah, Mexico looked really sharp. Mexico could give Croatia a run for their money in their second place. Obviously, getting their win under the belt. I can't see Cameroon beating Croatia now after what we saw today, but yeah, that's pretty much that match wraps up. I think. Shall we go on to what we've just witnessed?
was a joyful sight. That game was.
I kind of sat there and I was sat prepared for this game, and I'm thinking, oh crikey, it's the 11 o'clock kickoff. This is going to be one of these ones where I sit up and at the end of it I go, why the hell did I stay up to watch that? But I'm kind of glad I did, because the Australians really put up a fight despite going 2-0 down very early on.
Yeah, I thought 2-0, especially because they scored in the 12th and 14th minute. I thought this is just going to go from bad to worse. But they did a really, really good job of getting back into it. And Cahill's heading abilities are like none I've ever seen.
No, hang on. He's heading against Gary Medel. Gary Medel is a few inches off a dwarf.
But he does it against Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic. And, when he was playing for Everton, he did it against the best defenders in the world. Yeah,
he does leap like a mother. But at the same time, that guy, they were going, oh, what an outstanding leap against the centre-back. I'm thinking, look at Medel. He's not even aware what's going on. He's turning around. He's on the floor.
I'm kind of curious. Do Chile just have a lack of centre-backs that he has to play there? Because I've always associated Medel, particularly at club level, even when he played in Spain, he's a lot more of kind of a defensive midfielder just because he didn't have that aerial ability. And I kind of feel as if that might come back to bite them, playing him at centre-back against particularly teams like maybe if they came up against a Germany, a team with that big target man in closer, just one who's really prolific. I mean, Cahill's a great player, don't get me wrong, but he's kind of a player kind of at the end of his career. I'm thinking about these younger big players come up, and I think that could be a weakness for them, just set pieces in general, especially because they have a lack of height across the park.
Well, I mean, coming up against Van Persie and maybe Costa, you get to see his true abilities as a centre back. He's not really playing, even though Cahill can head a ball, he's not playing against a frightful attack. So he probably had a bit of an easy day today, even though they scraped through with that 3-1 win. But I mean, I'm used to seeing him at the CDM spot or as like a bit of a tank midfielder and to break up the play. But he obviously does a good job there. I still, to this day, don't understand why Mascherano plays a centre back, and yet there he is every game.
What did you make of it then, Ben? Because I know you did not back Australia going into this. You were slating Australia. You told them it was game over, and I think at 2-1 it was squeaky bum time for you on Twitter.
Well, I'll tell you, at 2-0 I was thinking, here we go, I've predicted a 4-0 hammer in it, and then Cahill pops up, and I'm thinking, oh, come on, stop this nonsense. And obviously I've said that if if Australia get a point, I'll do whatever you want. I'll do anything. And I saw you were bigging it up on Twitter, weren't you? Giving it, what should we get Ben to do? Oh, this will be well funny. No, it won't be funny. People are saying, get him to do a whole episode in Australian accent. Well, no, that's not happening, mate. I'll tell you that for sure. Do you like that, Nep? That was good, right?
No, that wasn't good. Okay. You should never do that again.
He does it every show.
I'm going to get it to every show now. But no, and then obviously Beausejour, the Wigan hard man, pops up. And gets a third.
Great strike, though. Great strike. In fact, there was another. I think the goal that was disallowed was offside, but there was a couple of chances that Chile had where they weren't offside, but it was blown for offside, and they were clean through on goal.
Yeah, there was one
the refereeing so far. Yeah, the refereeing so far has been absolutely atrocious in every single game.
The problem is, how will it improve?
I mean, we've already seen four sets of refs. Like as soon as we get the English refs in there, you know things are going up from there.
I feel like the issue is that in a Premier League weekend you kind of see 8 games all separately, and they'll all have their mistakes, but they might not be that big. They might even not say make it onto match of the day. But with this being the World Cup, with it being a case of 3 or 4 games in some cases being shown a day, back to back to back, you kind of notice these mistakes more and more often, and what ultimately is maybe 2 mistakes per game feels like so much more because you're watching so much football during the World Cup.
Yeah, and the result means that much more as well. Like, it's a World Cup
exactly.
finals.
There's more on the line.
Yeah. So we put it to Twitter, Jack. We saw Spain get embarrassed. It's not a question of the day, folks. That's what I'm getting to.
Excellent stuff.
We saw Spain embarrass. No, sorry, we saw Holland embarrass Spain. I get that right way around. So I asked Twitter, what's your most embarrassing footballing moment? Have you boys got any in particular?
I've got one.
Right, go on the net. Let's hear it.
So I'm playing for Dulwich Hamlet, right? I don't know if you know who they are. This is a good.
Right?
This is a good 13 years ago now. I'm literally 16. This is my second time ever on the Dulwich Hamlet field, and we're Sunday League football, so there's a bit of a. The pitch wasn't great, let's say that. And I'm running into my box to try and clear a ball, and I don't see the divot in the grass, and it's a big divot. Like, everyone sees this divot. And as I go to put my landing foot, my standing foot down, I think I'm hitting the floor at X point, but it's actually like 2 inches below that. So I completely misjudge where my standing foot is going to go. Completely miss the ball. I see the attacker coming towards me, and I try and dive myself, like my head towards the ball to clear it, and end up diving my head into his boot and just getting smashed in the face, bloodied up and everything. And everyone's just laughing because I made a proper tit of myself, and it I actually got subbed off right there, and that was that.
Was that because of the injuries, or was that just because it was that bad?
I probably because it was that bad, but I mean, my nose was like bust open, so it was probably because of that. But
probably not ideal.
It's surprising how many people on Twitter have got the same story. Like exactly like a similar thing happened. They've just run towards a ball, missed it, fell on their ass.
Yeah,
that's come up quite a few times. Yeah. Jack, go on then. This better be good.
This is a good one. I would have been 8 or 9. No, I would have been 8 years old. It was the Germany-England, World Cup qualifier for the 2002 World Cup. And obviously, we know what happened. It finished 5-1 to England. But I'm at a wedding reception. I must admit, it wasn't the most glamorous wedding reception. But it was in like a kind of pub social club bit. And my dad had slipped out because he wasn't that fussed about the wedding to go in the room next door, like not the venue one, to watch the football on the big screen. But there's a little door that links onto kind of where the reception was going on. And the bride's father's giving his speech about his bride. And my dad just bursts through this fire exit in the room next door and just starts screaming, it's 5-1. And you've kind of got this entire crowd, everyone at the wedding just staring at my dad, who's burst behind the father of the bride, interrupted it completely and just killed the moment.
To be fair, that's your dad's most embarrassing
moment.
But
it was embarrassing for me as a kid.
Yeah,
because it's your dad. I was traumatised. The fact that I can remember that, I don't remember it as the glorious day where England won 5-1. I remember it as the day when my dad ruined some father's kind of moment of his life, giving away his daughter, the speech. That's going to stick with me forever.
Well, we've got some on Twitter then. So Jack said, I ran to the ball, lost my foot in, broke my elbow, then on the way to the car, slipped over and broke my finger. Awkward. Someone said they scored a hat-trick of own goals.
I don't believe that.
How does someone do that unless they're being paid? Are they like Nigerian and they're playing in one of those leagues where they get paid a load of money to score own goals?
I don't know. Golden FM came up with shouting Rory Delap when I was about to take a throw and the ball slipped out of my hands and landed on my head.
I saw someone who said they were a Watford fan and they went to Wembley last year.
Yeah, that's not once again not them though, is it? That's their club.
Yeah, but that's still embarrassing for you. Like that's an embarrassing footballing moment.
I've got to be honest. A lot of them running towards the ball, missed, hit me on the face.
I think if you've not done that, then you've not played football.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the most embarrassing thing you can do with a football. That's kind of just a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, Peter said losing Dr. Benji on FIFA. Fair play. I wouldn't say that was embarrassing, though.
No, that is very embarrassing.
That is embarrassing.
Get off it. Someone said they also jumped into a goalpost, cut their eye open, game had to be stopped for 10 odd minutes for it to stop. Just get off the pitch.
Yeah,
just get off the pitch. I could be minding up to see where you're going, but just get off the pitch. You're wasting everybody's time. Okay, so thank you for answering question of the day. If you want to get involved next time, we tweet out generally before we record a show, either in the afternoon or in the evening. Right, next, what are we doing, Jack?
Look forward. We've got to look forward. There's some games on today. Early kick-off. Colombia v Greece. Well, where do you want to start with this one?
At the end, 0-0 full time next game.
Right, Uruguay, Costa Rica.
We'll go back to
joking.
Are we actually going back to Colombia?
Yeah, let's go back to Colombia. Colombia are in a group that's kind of associated as the group that's going to be really tight, but there's no kind of standout team. Colombia are probably the favourites to go out of that group, given the fact they are very high in the FIFA World Rankings. Very high. I think they're in the 8th in the FIFA World Rankings, so they're the highest ranked team in that league, and then you're accompanied by, is it Japan
and Ivory Coast
and Greece. I mean, where do you see that one going?
I reckon Colombia and Ivory Coast will qualify from that group. Ivory Coast have got a strong, like they got Drogba of course, but they got a strong team. They can cope with the heat a lot better than perhaps the Japanese and the Greek can.
Well, Nep, it's interesting you say that. Jack, what do you think? Do you think it'll be the Ivory Coast and Colombia?
I'm a big Japan advocate. I think there's a lot of Japanese players coming up through the ranks, and I'm looking forward to watching them tomorrow. Except they're not on tomorrow, they're on the day after. So, no, they are on tomorrow.
No, they're on at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, they're on at 2 in the
morning.
They're
in the morning.
So, yeah.
Oh, God.
I know. So where do we see it going? We'll just make a quick prediction. Colombia or Greece, and a scoreline.
I'm going to go for 2-1 Colombia.
All right, Jack?
4-1 Colombia.
All right, I'm going 6-0 Colombia.
Brutal.
Why not?
Do you not think Samaras is going to get a goal?
You're just wrong, Ben, by the way.
What did you predict?
2-1 Colombia.
So you've gone for a Colombian win as well?
No, yeah, but you're just wrong. There's not going to be like 93 goals in this game.
Look, we predicted Spain to get a 2-0 victory against the Dutch.
Exactly, and you was wrong there.
Well, yeah. So I'm going completely to what I might think. Right, Uruguay. Thanks, Nep. Uruguay, Costa Rica. Rumor has it Luis Suarez won't be starting the game.
Has that been confirmed? I'm pretty sure that's confirmed now. Don't quote me on it. But he's not starting. Apparently, he's going to be ready for the England game, which worries me slightly because the chances are, he's going to be ready and raring to go for that one. And obviously, they're not risking him for this game because they may kind of back the likes of Cavani and Forlan to really be able to, I guess, strike and get a few goals against Costa Rica.
Yeah, where's it going, Nep?
Yeah, I think a big win for Uruguay, maybe 4 or 5-0 against Costa Rica.
Well, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
It's going to be 2-1 Uruguay.
No, you're wrong. Costa Rica won't score.
All right, Jack, what are you saying?
I'm going to go with 3-0 Uruguay. I think Costa Rica, they've just not got enough about them. I've not seen them play, I've got to be honest, but I know that they set up with kind of a 3-5-2 system, and I think that might be a bit of an undoing point for them.
Right. Shall we move on to the main event of the evening?
I thought we already did that, Colombia v Greece.
Oh, listen to his comedy. Where'd you get it from? You must follow me on Twitter. England versus Italy. Will it be Sterling or Welbeck?
Probably both.
Or both, yeah.
Yeah, I think both. Italy typically have, or like Italians in general, they're very slow. Like their play style was quite slow. Their players are generally quite slow, especially, like Marchisio and De Rossi in the midfield. Not the fastest players. Having pace down each wing for us would be massive, I think. It'll be game-changing.
So, go on, Jack.
I was just going to ask, Ned, what do you think your starting 11 is? We've already talked about it on the podcast, but I'm kind of curious for you how you'd like to see England set up.
That's literally what I was going to ask.
I'd like to see... This is something I usually always never want to see, but I'd actually like to see Gerrard and Lampard starting together in the midfield with Lallana just in front of them. Welbeck and Sterling on the wings, and then Sturridge up front. I've got no place for Rooney.
So hang on, are you saying that Rooney should be dropped?
Not that he should be dropped. I think against Italy we need pace, and like Sturridge has got a good head on him. He's really he's strong. He's attacking minded. Rooney's the sort of guy that will sit deep and try and control the game and play people through. But what's the point of doing that when you've got no one really to play through? Like England aren't Man United. They haven't got the kind of, well, not the Man United have really got the kind of strikers anymore either, but England just aren't the sort of team where Rooney can afford to sit back and play deep. Like especially against Italy, if we want to beat Italy, we have got to be a really attack-minded unit, and I don't think having Rooney in the team is gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't actually mind a player dropping deep as Rooney does in the middle, because I think Barkley does a good job of it. But what I want to see in a player who drops deep is not them just passing it back the way that they're facing, but actually looking to run into the space behind them. So I think that's something that Barkley does really well, is his ability to pick the ball up maybe slightly deeper than, say, the likes of Lallana playing down the middle. But then he has that pace and power really to plough through the midfield. And against, when you've got players like you mentioned who are slower in the midfield, particularly Pirlo, I think you can get him and behind him if you can catch Italy out, and I think that's going to be essential. I watched Italy in a pre-season friendly pre-tournament friendly against Fluminense, who are obviously a domestic team in Brazil, and they were playing really explosive, fast wingers, and Italy just couldn't cope. The game actually ended up finishing 5-3 to Italy, so they did cope, I guess. But the fact of the matter was that they really struggled defensively against this pace that Fluminense had.
Yeah,
one other thing with the England team as well is someone like Rooney, he's got, what's he got, one goal or something in major tournaments or in the World Cup for England.
He hasn't got any.
He hasn't got
any. So there is so much pressure on him to score goals and to carry England. But this youth team that we're putting out, in the friendlies that we've seen them play and stuff, they haven't done remarkably well, but I feel like they have the hunger more than someone like Rooney has. He's got too much pressure, whereas someone like Sturridge, who this is his first World Cup, he will go out there and he will want to get the ball, he'll want to touch it, he'll want to score goals, whereas Rooney, I feel like, would be more like, oh God, it's I've got to score goals, I've got to get on the ball.
Yeah, people that have been listening have know that I mentioned, you spoke about it now, that Italy don't cope very well with pace. What they also won't cope very well with is movement. And Rooney doesn't offer the same movement that a Barkley, Sterling, Lallana would. And that is my massive concern for against Italy, who will be set up so well defensively. They'll all know what they're doing. They've all got their jobs. So we've got to move in between them. And I don't trust Rooney to do that well enough to influence a game. If he's sitting deep, looking for passes, looking to shoot from 30 yards, then what use is he?
Yeah.
Like, Italy love that. That is what Italy thrive off, because they'll win it back off him and they'll break. They'll give it to Balotelli. They'll give it to their fast, creative players, and they'll be gone again. And then we'll be like, oh, okay, well, what do we do then? I've said many times that start Rooney from the bench. An annoyed Wayne Rooney who wants to prove a point is far better than a Rooney who's complacent because he knows he's been picked.
Yeah.
So
I think the other thing with having Rooney on the bench is the fact that sometimes, as we saw kind of in the last friendly before the World Cup, sometimes the likes of Lallana just don't have an impact. Sometimes Sturridge just has an off game where he can't finish. And I think what Rooney offers is he's kind of an option who, if you do bring him on, you can just stick him up as a front man. And as you mentioned, when he's wound up, he's a very good player. I mean, that can sometimes work in a negative, but I think generally with Rooney, him being a little bit fired up, a little bit less complacent, which is something that I think's really crept into his game in kind of the last season, particularly at United. Just that kind of lack of drive and desire to win the ball back for his team. I kind of feel bringing him in off the bench, you've got the option to play him down the middle off someone, or stick him up top if you're chasing a game.
Yeah. So let's go with some predictions. This is where it all comes down to the crunch. We'll start with our guest. What do you reckon?
I don't know, it's an interesting one. I don't have too high hopes for England this World Cup, because every time I do have high hopes for them, they let us all down. I don't know, I'm going to go for 1-1, I think.
All right, Jack?
I'll go with 2-1 England. I think England have enough to win. I think it'd be a good kind of starting block for a World Cup campaign.
I would have said 1-1, but to not be boring, I think England will potentially be the first team to get a 0-0 at this tournament. It'd be so typical.
To not be boring.
You're the optimist there, aren't you?
To not be boring, I'm going to go with a 0-0 thriller. Right. So there's the games covered from today and tomorrow. It's time... yesterday and today. It's now time to do our favourite moment of the show. And finally, we've got a guest to challenge Jack's 6 out of whatever it was.
6 out of 7 in 30 seconds.
It's the ForTheFans quiz, Nep.
Go on, I'm not going to get anything, I know I'm not.
Right, no. The questions are a mixture of... Yeah, let's just go on with the quiz. Right, Jack, have you got a timer ready?
I'm just setting up our timer for you.
Excellent.
Don't you worry.
You've got 30 seconds on the clock now.
Yep.
There's no pressure, no one's listening. Okay, so when Jack gives us the go-ahead...
Yep, I'm ready when you guys are.
Right, you say go, and we're away.
3, 2, 1, go!
How many teams have played in the first World Cup?
32.
Incorrect, 13. Which was the first nation to host the World Cup twice?
Brazil.
Incorrect, Mexico. Are you enjoying the quiz?
No.
Incorrect, the answer is yes. Brazil have a psychic tortoise, true or false?
True.
Correct. Actually, no, sorry, false. It was a turtle, not a tortoise. How many different countries have won the World Cup?
8.
7. It's going well. Which city comes next in this list?
Time.
Oh, that's time. That's unfortunate. That's. Oh.
Do we give him a point for trying?
So let's tot it up. Let's just tot it up.
I definitely got the am I enjoying this quiz right question right, because that's my personal preference and there's no answer that you can have that's right for that. So
I've got
right
yes
there.
on the card though, Ned. So.
But your card's wrong, I'm afraid.
No.
I demand a recount.
We don't argue with the quiz.
No, I do.
Let's just tie up the results.
I'll do a recount. Yeah, you're still on 0. I'm sorry.
Oh, bloody hell. Questions you could have had. Uruguay won the World Cup in 1930, but which country was the competition held?
Uruguay as well.
Yeah, correct.
You would have got a point if you got that far.
If only you got that far. And the next question was, where is this year's World Cup being held?
It's South Korea and Japan, isn't it?
Correct.
Oh. Yeah.
Wait, we're not in 2002.
So you go away with no points.
No, I got 1 point. I got question 3 right.
We'll give you half.
I'll give you half.
I'll take it.
With 0.5 points, we see Nep go second on the leaderboard behind first place Jack, which we
That's
can't.
all right, I'll take that.
This keep working out. And that brings us to the end of the quiz. Thanks for taking part. Well done.
Woo, we need a quiz theme tune of some kind.
We do. Could someone get on that?
Write the theme tune.
Right. I think we're almost done, Jack.
We are done. Have we got any queries? Actually, guys, get us your predictions for the England game on Twitter at ForTheFans Show. Of course, you can find us on YouTube or iTunes. If you're watching on one, we're available on the other. You can get all the links at www.forthefanshow.com. Ben, see us out.
I would like to say thank you to our guest Nepenthez.
You're welcome. It's been fun, apart from the quiz.
Well, you know, the quiz was the highlight for many people, I'm sure. And from me, Ben, from me, Jack, and I, guess Nepenthez. We'll see you next time.
Wow.
Peace.